Okay, welcome everyone. If you're joining us for this final webinar in the Give It Up for Gut Cancer series, we're delighted tonight to welcome Simon Gault from 4 Wheels of Health joining us tonight for this final webinar. Now, this is a bit of a combination from last week's webinar that unfortunately, due to unforeseen circumstances, we had to cancel. So Simon is going to be covering off giving some background on the importance of sleep to your overall health and well-being, and sharing some tips on how you can improve the quality of your sleep. So he'll be doing that, and then we're going to then lead into some tips and guidance for going forward with the Give It Up program. Obviously, it's a month-long challenge, but the intent is that through the challenge, you've kick-started some good habits, good lifestyle changes that are going to help reduce your risk of getting gut cancers in the future, but also contribute to your overall health and well-being. So we'll share some tips on that. And also Simon will be taking through, as I say, he's from 4 Wheels of Health, and he's going to share a little bit of information about the 4 Wheels of Health course. The next one is starting on the 31st of March. So it's something you might want to do as a next step to your Give It Up challenge. So he'll be talking through that right at the end. Before I hand over to Simon, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone. Fundraising is continuing to go really well. We've just crossed through the 120,000 mark towards our $200,000 goal. Now, that might seem like a big gap between where we're at now to the goal with just a week to go. But what it amounts to is under $100 per participant's fundraise. So stay tuned at the end. I'll share some tips for some last minute fundraising ideas that can help us get over the line and reach that 200,000 goal. So thank you for all your efforts thus far. And I'm now going to hand over to Simon for the first part of this webinar on sleep. Over to you, Simon.
Thanks, Sue, and congratulations everybody for getting this far. And I'm sure you guys will get that $200,000 goal, just $100 each, right? So go hard, everybody, because it's a tremendous cause. Sleep's an interesting one, isn't it? And, you know, by the way, it's free. Not many people ever educate on sleep. We don't get taught about sleep at school. But, you know, everybody is born with a set sleep need. And most adults need between 7 and 8 hours. Children need a lot more, but let's just talk about adults. You know, we can all learn to get by on less sleep, but you just cannot train your body to need less sleep. So it's hugely important. And I need you to understand, if you're not getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep, what you're running yourself at the risk of. So if you have poor sleep and you don't get that 7 to 8 hours a night, you're going to have negative effects on many parts of your body and your brain, including your ability for learning, your memory, your mood. We all know if we have a bad night's sleep, we can get out of bed a bit cranky, right? Which leads on to your emotions. It's going to affect that, along with a whole heap of biological functions that happen in your body. And if you're getting that poor sleep, it can make you overweight. Not many people realize that if they can get that good sleep, they're actually going to lose some weight. Poor sleepers have a greater risk of heart disease and stroke. And those sleeping less than 6 hours per night repeatedly, I'm talking about less than 6 hours a night, repeatedly have been shown at a much increased risk of type 2 diabetes, along with mental health issues such as depression. They are strongly linked to poor sleep quality. Even a small loss of sleep has been shown to impair our immune function. And right now, with what's going on in the world with COVID, we want our immune system to be ready. And we don't want to impair it by poor sleep. And poor sleep is all to inflame the body, or the digestive tract, and disorders known as inflammatory bowel diseases. So, in fact, researchers believe that poor sleep affects your ability to recognize important social cues. And a lot of this may not be new news to you. You know, if you have a poor night's sleep, you're going to be a bit grumpy, right? And, you know, processing emotional information is hard. But what if we get that good 7 to 8 hours sleep a night? Well, if you get that good sleepers tend to eat fewer calories. That's a tick in my book. There's, it will improve your concentration and your productivity. There's just so many things that by getting that 7 to 8 hours sleep a night is going to help. But the big one here, right? Big one that I really hope you take note of, good sleep may help prevent cancer. Good sleep will reduce inflammation in the body. Good sleep will reduce stress. There are so many things, you know, and another good thing about getting good sleep is you'll lose some weight. And, you know, you're going to reduce your risk of depression. And it's like this spiral we can go down, right? If we don't get that good sleep, you know, we start to get a bit depressed, we get up cranky, and, you know, we drink more coffee, and we start doing things that we don't do when we get good sleep. And if we get that good sleep, you know, we're letting our body repair itself. It's like when we take our car to the garage, right? And we check it in for a service, and we get oil, and we get some new windscreen wipers. So when it's raining, we can actually see out our window. The engine gets a tune. That's what's happening while we're sleeping, is everything is going to work and repairing all those things. But if our sleep is bad, let's say we've had a high carb dinner, our sleep won't be as good. So, you know, a big dinner of pasta or pizza and things like that is going to impact your sleep quality. And, you know, it's just this spiral, isn't it? So if we can sleep well, our body can literally lose weight, repair itself, help prevent us from getting cancer, and all these other good benefits. And if I said to you, you know, how many of you in the middle of the night or at some stage in the night wake up and, you know, your phone's right next to your bed, and you look at the time and you go, oh, then you do that mental calc, goes, oh, I've only got another 3 hours. And, you know, you're pretty annoyed about that. So you just absolutely need that sleep, because I lost you there. Are you still, is everybody still there? I'm rabbiting on, it's saying it's recording. Are you there, Sue? Oh, you are still there. Oh, very good. Sorry about that. So, you know, you wake up and you look at your clock, you do that mental calculation of, oh, I've only got a few hours sleep left. But whilst you're sleeping, imagine it's like pulling up to the petrol station and plugging in the petrol bowser into your ear. You've just come back, Sue. Did you lose me there for a bit?
I did, and I lost myself. I don't know what went on there. It's pretty windy up where I live, so I don't know if my internet went out or whether yours did.
Yeah, I just lost you, but then somebody jumped in and said they could still hear me. So hopefully they can still hear me. But I'm talking about whilst you're sleeping, it's like pulling up to the gas station and putting a petrol pump in, and you've got this little gas tank in your frontal cortex. And whilst you're sleeping, it's just slowly filling this gas tank with fuel. But in the event that we wake up and then we go back to sleep because we've looked at our clock or our phone, and that blue light, our eyes have seen it, it starts talking to our brain and saying, hey, it's daylight. You don't really need to sleep, but you want to sleep, so you go back to sleep. From that moment on, you're not filling that gas tank. And how many of us get out of bed after a night's sleep and not feel refreshed? And then that culminates to the end of the day when, you know, you only filled that gas tank half or quarter or three quarters, and at the end of the day, you've run out of fuel. And do you know that feeling? We just don't want to talk to anybody else anymore. You don't even want to cook dinner. You want somebody else to cook dinner, or actually I'll get takeaways on the way home, or actually I'll just cook pasta with a pizza sauce that's full of preservatives. I've got that, so that'll be quick and easy. We just run out of steam. So it's so important that whilst we sleep, we fill that gas tank up. So the biggest tip that I can give you, and the hardest one, and sleep is so complex. We spend 1 week on sleep on the 4 Wheels of Health course, just educating for 1 week on it. So because it just has such tremendous impacts on our life. So in 15 minutes, I can't get it all through to you, but the biggest tip and the hardest thing to do is you don't have your mobile phone beside your bed. If you do, put a cloth over it, set the alarm. If you wake up in the night, just go, the alarm is set. Do not allow yourself to see the light. That's why, have you ever traveled somewhere and you get somewhere and you're full of jet lag and you get into a hotel room and they've got blackout curtains and you can't see a hand in front of you. It's such a dark environment. And oh boy, you're out like a light and you sleep like a log. So the darker the environment for our sleep, the better sleep we'll get. And then not looking at light when we wake up, like if we can push a button on a clock so the light comes on, or we click our phone to see what time it is, that immediately sends a signal to our brain and says, you don't need to sleep anymore, it's daylight, it's time to operate. And therefore, the rest of your night is a poor night's sleep. And let's think of some other tips. The classic is in winter when people hop into a bed with an electric blanket. This is going to really impact poorly on your sleep. What you need your body to do when you hop into bed is you need your body temperature to decrease, which then sends a signal to the brain, which is, hey, it's time to start to go to sleep. But if you hop into a hot bed with an electric blanket, then your body temperature actually is going to increase. So that is going to make it even harder to fall asleep. So the hack for that is, especially in winter, is if you could have a hot shower before you go to bed. When you hop into bed, you'll be toasty and warm, and the bed will be cold, but that feeling is good. And then your body temperature will decrease. At the same time, in winter, we sleep in a room that is too hot. And in summer, we can't kind of control it because it's so hot. Sometimes our bedroom is very warm. The optimal temperature for your bedroom to be is 18 degrees C, between 18 and 18.5 degrees C. And I'm sure there's a bunch of people out there go, oh my God, that's so chilly, I can't sleep in that. But if you have a hot shower and you're nice and warm and you hop under your blankets, you will sleep much better. And the other thing is a hot bath is another great thing. And if you have a hot bath, and if you do not get that 7 to 8 hours sleep a night, I highly recommend you getting some dead sea salts. Dead sea salts. Blance is a company in New Zealand that do it. You can buy online from Blance. And you put those salts in there and they're full of goodness, and your body soaks these good things up. And the big one being magnesium. And that is, magnesium is going to relax your muscles. Do we all know what it's like if we have a massage and then we hop into bed? We sleep a lot better after a massage, don't we? It's kind of like the same thing, having a bath with the dead sea salts in there. Your body will absorb all that magnesium. You will sleep better. I mean, on the 4 Wheels of Health, we do one whole session about magnesium and how you can get magnesium. What happens if you're magnesium deficient? A lot of New Zealanders are magnesium deficient. They have no idea. And eventually, if they sort it out, they go, you know, I was blaming all these things that happened on all these other things, but it was just I was magnesium deficient. So it's a great way to get magnesium in. So that hot shower is fantastic. Not having the phone beside your bed or having it covered with a towel is a really good tip. The other thing is perhaps you might want to think about meditation. Guided sleep meditation is what you will Google. And then you go, well, how do I listen to that in bed? Well, you need your phone, right? So I would get a guided sleep meditation sorted out during the day, find a voice that I like. They generally tell you how to breathe, because, you know, I'm talking at 1,000,000 miles an hour here, but we all do that often. How often do we take and really fill our lungs up? We shallow breathe most of the time unless we're doing exercising, but doing that in bed where it's guided, you'll fall off to sleep really quickly. It works for so many people. It definitely worked for me. So if you Google guided sleep meditation and find one that you really like, a voice that you like, and then have it all ready before you go to bed, and then literally put a little towel over, or a hand towel or something over your phone, push play, don't even look at it. And, you know, I guarantee you, most of you will be asleep before it's even finished. They really, really do work. There are different foods that you can eat that can help with sleep. Hemp hearts are fantastic. I had a friend come and stay here recently, and I said, you know, she was complaining about poor sleep. And I said, 3 heaped tablespoons of hemp hearts a day. Get them into a smoothie, sprinkle them on salads, whatever it is. They are genius. And we took all of this, which I don't have time to go in. So hemp hearts and hemp seeds are the same thing. Just about every supermarket has it now. Try and buy New Zealand ones as opposed to the ones that come from China. So I prefer the New Zealand ones. Eggs have tryptophan in them. This is also very good for promoting sleep. And, you know, if you think of that thing of, you know, eat like a king in the morning and a queen for lunch and a pauper for dinner, it's not very PC to say that. I should be saying eat like a queen for breakfast and a king for lunch and a pauper for dinner, right? But, you know, having a big meal, as most Kiwis do during the day, is if you look at the Mediterranean, where they tend to have their bigger meals at lunch. And if you look at, they have 30% less cancer than in New Zealand. They have half the amount of heart disease. They have 1/9 the amount of diabetes. They've got to be doing something, right? And, you know, if you Google the Mediterranean diet, you won't be able to just print off what it is. It's a way of living. And, you know, it's all these foods that if you can introduce into your life, you will help. And if you really have poor sleep, there is cherry juice that some health shops have. In fact, I picked up a brochure because I was in sleep support, you know, and there's some real good scientific evidence around this this cherry juice, and it's got tryptophan. Foods with tryptophan in it are really good for promoting sleep, and eggs are very high in it. So there's all the food. So if you want to sleep better and you're struggling with sleep, I highly suggest, you know, foods that promote sleep. Bananas are good as well. There's also a study being done of people eating 2 kiwi fruit a couple of hours before going to bed are finding that they sleep better. So, you know, Dr. Google, right? Foods that promote better sleep are worth thinking about. But the biggest thing you can do is to stop looking at the television or your device or computers 2 hours before going to bed. This will be the thing that will make the biggest difference, but it will be the hardest thing to do because you've probably been watching TV or, you know, balancing the checkbook in bed or checking your Instagram likes or Facebook comments and things for such a long time. It's a very hard habit to break. But it's very rewarding if you can, because when you get older, the chances of having dementia and Alzheimer's, which are mainly caused by having poor sleep for many years, may not be on your doorstep. And plus, maybe you might start playing cards with your family or talking to your family and the people that are next to you when you're watching TV by doing something different, reading a book. A Kindle is quite good because it doesn't emit the blue light. You can put apps onto your phone to reduce the blue light on your phone, which will help. But if you can stop an hour and a half to 2 hours before you go to bed, will be genius. That will have a massive impact. But what you all need to remember is that you have this internal clock in you. How many of you wake up and you go, I know what the time is, and you look at your clock and like you're so accurate, it's almost 2 minutes away, right? We have this internal clock and it's called the circadian rhythm. So, you know, we've been teaching our clock to understand what time we go to bed and what time we get up for such a long time that it takes a long time to change that circadian rhythm. So you can't just make these changes, have the hot shower, be in a cooler room and all that sort of thing, and just change this overnight. You've got this circadian rhythm, so you've got to work on it and persevere with it. But, you know, nothing comes without hard work. Otherwise, everybody would be doing it, right? But, you know, we do have high rates of cancer in New Zealand. And, you know, compared to these other countries that have siestas, we eat a lot of poor foods that impact on our sleep. We have a very high diet of highly processed and refined foods in New Zealand that are full of preservatives. Why do they put preservatives in food? They put preservatives in food so they can stop it going off, so it can last on the shelf longer or in the fridge. But if we then take those home and we eat them, do you think that maybe those preservatives, as soon as they go in our mouth and go down into our tummy, do you think those preservatives are still working? They are. So they're killing the good bacteria in our gut and our microbiome, which then also impacts on our sleep. So by altering the diet, we don't have to have a diet of twigs and berries. Far from it. We can eat fantastic food, but if sleep is your key to change here, start looking at the foods that can help promote sleep and reduce the highly processed and refined foods in your diet, and you will see a difference. And if you can stop looking at that blue light, be in a cooler room, have that hot shower before you go to bed, it won't take long and you will sleep a lot better. And the rewards will be, all the people that you're around in the morning going, oh, you're quite happy, aren't you? You're not as grumpy as you normally are. There'll be so many benefits, and the benefits when you get older will be even greater, and you'll thank yourself for making the effort now. Sorry, I'm a little parched. Drinking water is a good thing, right? Should be drinking 2 liters of water before 2 o'clock. And, you know, we try and encourage people to do that on our course. And people say, why before 2 o'clock? Because I don't want you to be getting up and going for a pee all through the night, right? So, you know, we ease off a little bit after 2 o'clock. So we get all that done. But, you know, we need to hydrate our body. Most people are dehydrated and they don't even know it, you know. 2 liters of water before 2 o'clock for a lot of people is like, wow, that's a lot of water. So
that's a really good point, Simon, sorry. We did get a question in the group last week around timing of drinking and things, and people having problems having to get up in the night and pee. So that's a really good tip to try and get hydrated earlier on in the day and then ease off into the evening. I think that's a great tip.
Yes, and I hit it hard first thing. So before I go to bed, I've got this 2-litre Tupperware container. I fill that up before I go to bed. So as soon as I walk out in the morning, it's on the beach and I'm into it. Because, you know, I don't want to be stopping for a pee on the way to work or whatever. There are lots of things we can do to help ourselves. And, you know, as people have been trying to get the sugar out of their diets, as they've given it up for the month, it takes time to see the change. But if people have been doing it, 80% of what you've been telling them to do, they will be feeling different. And if they can get on top of the sleep, they will feel massively different. They will have a lot more energy. But there's just a few tips. But I think the big key is that screen time, an hour and a half or 2 hours before bed. If you can eliminate that and start doing what people did in the old days, you know, where they talk to one another, it can be pretty rewarding.
Right. Oh, thanks very much, Simon, for those great tips. And we're now going to move on. I should have said at the start, there is the ability for Q&A, and we do have a question in there at the moment, which is a more general question. So we will get to that at the end. But we're now going to move on to just some tips for moving forward with Give It Up. Obviously, this is a month-long challenge, and, you know, the tips we were giving throughout the month, we'd like you to take forward and make it into a habit for a lifetime, a lifestyle change. So it's small steps, and this year you might have given up alcohol or sugar. Some people have given up all three, including the sofa, you know, and the sofa-free people. I know there's a few that have taken on board what Simon's just said and actually given up screen time in the evening and going out for a walk and doing a bit of exercise instead. So some key things for moving forward. I think we're going to keep the Facebook group going. So you'll still have access to the recordings of these webinars. So, you know, nobody's a saint. And when we get to the end of the month, you might suddenly feel like if you haven't had chocolate for a month, you might want to have a bit of a treat. But treat is the operative word. And the idea here is to make these things like chocolate, lollies, cakes, a once in a while treat rather than everyday occurrence. So hopefully through all the tips that Simon and Sean have shared through these webinars, will help you make the right decisions with regards to your food. The thing that sticks in my mind, I've done the sugar-free, I did alcohol-free last year, is the picture of the good bacteria fighting the bad bacteria in my gut. So when I'm thinking about eating that chocolate or drinking that alcoholic drink, it makes me stop and think about actually what's going to happen in my gut when I put that in my mouth. And certainly, you know, that mental picture has helped me. The other tip that Simon, you might like to go through in case people haven't seen the earlier video on cravings, was your analogy between the fridge and the freezer in your body. That really stuck with me as well. So maybe you just can go over that one again.
Sure. I think, you know, I'm just going to jump in on the chocolate and the alcohol. I think life's too short to have a bad piece of chocolate or a bad piece of cake or a bad piece of bread or bad anything that you like. I would much rather save it up and have the best bit of chocolate. Or if I'm going to have bread, I mean, I live way out in South Auckland, and Hazel and I will drive to Mount Roskill to get the best croissant in the world. We only do it I've only ever done it 3 times, but it's worth the big drive because it's so good. Or I could just go to the supermarket and buy a croissant that's terrible, I think, in comparison. So, you know, have a treat, but make it a really good one. And I think the key is to remember nothing changes without change, and you've all been changing and doing it. And you are all going to fall off the bandwagon. We all do. You know, it's human nature. But the key is to remember tomorrow is another day to start again. And we need to understand fail fast, fix fast. In all my restaurants, I used to say to people, you know, if we make a mistake, let's accept it and fix laxity, all those things, we fill up the fridge. And then once the fridge is full, just like at home, the fridge is full, so then we might put things in the freezer. But in our body, we convert the food that won't fit in the fridge, we convert it to fat and we store it for a rainy day. But the problem is that rainy day doesn't come along. So, because we have access to food all the time, so then we end up just getting more and more of this fat in our freezer. Unfortunately, generally, you can see it. It's either on our bum, our tummy, wherever it is, you can see it. So by saying, I'm going to eat in an 8-hour window, that leaves 16 hours a day for your body to actually get into the fridge and start using what's in the fridge. And then once the fridge is empty, we can then go, oh, my fridge is empty. What am I going to do? I'll have to get that stuff out of the freezer. Oh my goodness, it's fat. I'll have to convert it to fuel so I can burn it to operate. And that's a great thing, right? Because we're actually donating that fat stored to the atmosphere, which is a wonderful thing. And we start to look better and feel better, have more energy. The problem with that, though, is that when we've converted it to fat to store in the freezer, it stores all the toxins too. And when you then convert that fat back to fuel, it's not very good fuel. It's like running your car on a fuel that's contaminated with water or something. You end up bunny hopping down the road because the fuel's not very good, right? So and that will be toxins coming out. And if you're doing that, that will make you feel lousy. It'll give you brain fog. You won't feel very good. So there's got to be a bit of pain to get a bit of gain. Once you get that freezer empty and you get rid of all those toxins, then you're running on good fuel. And when you're running on good fuel, you go faster and you go further.
Great. Thanks, Simon. We've got a couple of questions coming through. Let's just have a look. Right. Oh, there's one related to sleep here. What about if we don't get a good sleep at night, having a nap? How long should you nap for? And is it a good idea?
Yeah, it's a great idea. About 20 minutes is a good time. And have you ever driven down the road and gone, I'm so tired, I'm going to fall asleep? You pull over and literally 3 or 4 minutes later, you feel better. A 20-minute nap is genius. And look in the Mediterranean, where they live to be older. They've got a good deal going on over there. So they do it.
Perfect. I've got another question here. Simon, any tips for beating cravings as the weather gets cooler and treats and comfort food are more appealing?
Yeah, that's absolutely key, isn't it? Well, the first thing to remember is that, addiction doesn't last 24/7. If you get that craving of, I need to go to the cupboard and get that jar of cookies out, you can try and go and do something different, because 7 minutes later, if you can occupy your mind, you'll get rid of that craving. I say to people on the 4 Wheels of Health, if you're going to go and have a bowl of ice cream or get a cookie, grab a knife and fork and force yourself to eat it with a knife and fork. You got to almost put your environment on what you want to achieve. If your environment has the cookies and the chocolate and all the ice cream there, that makes the craving so much easier to go and do. It makes that bad behavior easier. We need to make the good behavior there. So, on the 4 Wheels of Health, one of the very first things that we do is I show them a video of how to prepare all different nut snacks. And yeah, I know nuts probably don't taste as great as chocolate. I get that. But while we're on a mission, because most of the people come to our course to lose weight, and generally people that snack too much on those things think the same thing, you've got to make that the good behavior easier and the bad behavior harder by putting your environment on what you want to achieve. So that there is, and if you're going to have chocolate, have it earlier in the day and have a high cocoa chocolate, you know, over 70% is much better for you from in fact, a piece a day is actually good for you. But milk chocolate late at night, you're just taking sugar in. And if you have that chocolate or that treat and you treat yourself earlier in the day, that's when you need to tell yourself, I've had my treat for today. I hope that helps. It is a hard one, right? It is a hard one to deal with.
No, that's really great, Simon. And Marita, who asked the question, if you haven't already, we did an earlier webinar on cravings. So there's some great tips from Simon and Sean in that, and the recording for that you'll find on the Give It Up website under the blog posts. So we've got another question here from Christina. Hey, I was wanting to know how your gut bacteria interact with dairy products and meat. Do carbohydrates in general have the same effect on gut bacteria as sugar? That's sort of two questions there, really.
Yes, and this is more Sean's area of expertise, but, you know, your body turns, okay, example, so rice you'd think is carbs, right? So if you have 1 cup of cooked rice, which is not a lot, like if you go to an Indian restaurant, they normally put a great big pile of it on, but 1 cup of cooked rice, your body will convert to 12 teaspoons of glucose, and glucose is sugar. So if you measure out 12 teaspoons, that's a lot of sugar. So I think that answers the carb type question, and, you know, it does it with all carbs. Dairy is the same. You know, if you're going to have dairy, you know, I say to people, go for goat milk, goat's cheeses, have the other ones as a treat, especially in coffee. You know, I'll tell a quick story about a lady who did one of our original courses when we all would meet, which is what we did at the beginning. We don't do that anymore. And she came up to us on week 2 and said, I'm seeing a difference in everybody else in this room after 2 weeks. I'm doing everything you say, but I'm not losing as much weight that I visually see going in this room. And we said, well, look, this is science. Science works. You must not be doing something. And she said, the only thing I do is I have a flat white every morning, and it's only got that much milk in it. And we said to her, try cutting it out for 2 weeks, and she did, and the weight fell off her. So, you know, the small amounts of things impact massively sometimes. And as far as meat goes, you know, there's a lot of good in meat, right? Iron and all of those sort of wonderful things, but you probably want to cap it at no more than 350 grams of meat a week, and increasing the amount of oily fish we eat is a really good thing. We should be having oily fish like salmon and tuna and mackerel and all of those things, that sort of fish 3 times a week if possible. It does tremendous things for our health.
Right. Okay. Thanks, Simon. We've got one here. Does body size matter for water quantity? So I think this comes back to the 2 litres of water a day.
There is an equation for that. And I don't remember, I think for every 10, if you Google how much water should I be drinking a day, there is an equation. I think it's for every 10 kilos that you weigh, you should be having X amount. And I don't recall what it is, but a good average is 2 litre. If somebody is smaller, then obviously less. And that's why it's good to do that calculation. I'm sorry, I'd be stabbing in the dark to tell you exactly what it is.
Okay, all right, thanks, Simon. Now I've got one here. When doing sports, I was told we can't nap for more than 20 minutes, else it's over 1.5 hours. Is that true?
If they're doing sports,
from what I can understand, you know, you should be, the question is whether you should be napping for less than 20 minutes. Otherwise, do you have to sleep for more than 1.5 hours? So you can't, between 20 minutes and 1.5 hours.
I don't know.
I think I've understood that, right?
I can't answer that question. Sorry, I'd be guessing. Can't help.
Sorry, Bronte, we can't answer that one.
That's why I do this course for Sean, because he's the guru. I'm the food guy, right? Yeah. That's my background.
Okay, I think that's all the questions for now. So any more tips for the group? I think Simon, you were going to obviously you referred to the 4 Wheels of Health course throughout your talk, and we're extremely grateful for the support of Simon and Sean for the Give It Up participants. Through the process, through the webinars, you've had a taster for some of the content of the 4 Wheels of Health course. But Simon, would you, for the benefit of people, if they're interested in finding out more, just give it a little bit of an overview of how the course works? And you know, the next one's starting on the 31st of March. So if people are interested, obviously it's a great follow-on to the Give It Up challenge. So over to you, Simon, to give a little bit of an overview of the course.
So I'll give you a quick overview. First off, everybody likes to know what it costs, and that is the price of 2 Auckland coffees a day. So it's $299 for a 4-week course. It's run on a private Facebook page. There is a 20 minutes is a short one, 30 minutes is the average, a couple of 40 minutes video every day. They're run live, or you can watch them delayed. There's a framework, there's lots of recipes, there's lots of food content. So I'm the food guy that used to be a lot bigger than what I am, lost a lot of weight, did a documentary called Why Am I Fat, went around the world, met lots of experts, the world's experts in sugar and kidneys and every facet of health, and did another documentary called What We Eat, or How We Eat. This is all science. It's not sort of an airy fairy thing. And then I teamed up with this guy called Sean Robertson, because I met all these nutritionists and all these experts, and this guy just appealed to me that he really knew his stuff. And I said, why don't we do a course? So, because I thought I would love to help people achieve what I did. I've lost about 30 kilos and I've kept it off for coming up age, healthier. Got my energy. I've just had COVID. I breezed through it. I'm a changed person, and now we're able to run this course and make a difference. And if anybody is interested, you should go to our 4wheelsofhealth.com site and look at the testimonials. Look what people write about the course, how it affected them. We get weight off people. We get people sleeping better. We get more energy. We've had people who had their hair falling out when they shampooed it, that stopped. We've had people that had eczema that don't get eczema anymore. We've had people on blood pressure medication have managed to come off it under the guidance of their doctor. All sorts of things. It's fun, it's family, it's real. It's kind of a bit funny sometimes too. I'm me, so I do a video one day. Sean, the genius, does the video the next day. I kind of debunk it a little bit. All the tricky questions I can't answer go to Sean, because he's the science expert. He's a young guy. He is super clever. And I just think it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done. In a restaurant, I put a smile on people's face. But, I get people come up to me, grown men in tears, giving me a hug, going, you saved my life. It is the most powerful and rewarding thing I've ever done. And, for the price of a couple of coffees a day to hear me and Sean bang on for 30 or 40 minutes, you think, why would you pay that? But at the end of it, people are always disappointed it's finished, and they go onto our graduates page, which is free after that. And we have a health stig on the program, like on the car program, whether you don't know who it is, that's there fully qualified to answer questions all the time. I think what we're doing is amazing. It's just so rewarding. And if anybody wants to make a difference to their health, I think they would absolutely love it. And it starts on the 31st of March. There you go. That's the 4 Wheels of Health. That was the ad, everybody. But a pretty genuine
Simon.
one.
Well, and at this point in time, just want to say that Simon and Sean have very kindly donated a double pass to the Four Wheels of Health course, and we're offering that as part of a prize package for the prize draw for our top fundraisers. So if you are a champion fundraiser and have raised over $1,000, we're going to be doing the draw at the end of the month to win that, along with some other prizes. So keep an eye on your email tomorrow. I'm going to be emailing out the details of the prize draw. I'll hand in the air, Simon.
Yeah, so I just want to jump in. Like, giving the double pass, I think, is just genius, because you get to do it with somebody, you get support. And if anybody is thinking about doing it, try and find a friend, because we have a cheaper deal for 2 people to do it, because it's so great when you got somebody, how are you going, you know? And sorry, I just had to jump in because I think it's the two-person deal is great.
And I think anyone that's watching this that has been part of our Facebook group will understand, you know, having someone else there interacting through a group, how you're going, etc., and help and motivation from each other to get through a challenge like this, I think is really helpful. So yeah, keep an eye out in your emails for details of that. Now, just I said at the beginning we'd go over a few fundraising tips. So let me reiterate, at the moment we're at $120,000 raised, which is fantastic, a huge effort from everyone. It's not been an easy time. A number of people I know that I've been talking to have had COVID and impacted by that. You know, businesses are suffering through the lockdowns and so on. So, you know, it hasn't been the easiest of time to fundraise. So to have raised 120,000 already, we're just absolutely blown away. But our goal, and it's probably a bit of a stretch, but 200,000 is what we're aiming for. Now, if we do the maths on that, it might seem like a big gap, but it actually equates to, we've got over about 780 odd people doing the challenge. You know, the difference amounts to about $100 per person to fundraise over the next week. So that's getting 5 donations of $20 or a couple of donations of $50 in over the next week. And so put it out to everybody to jump on board, do that last push, and hopefully get those donations in. It really is a case of the power of many that can make the greatest difference. So everybody jump on board and get behind that. That'd be fantastic. So just a couple of last minute tips for you. If you have had some donations along the way, the best way to get some extra ones in is to do a Facebook post, tag everybody and thank everybody that has donated already. And you'll get a little bit of peer pressure going on amongst your friends. If they haven't already donated, guarantee they'll jump in there and donate if they haven't. Similarly, that can work really well, and I've tried this myself. If you've got some friends groups or family group on WhatsApp or Messenger, you can cut and paste the link to your page and share it into the group and thank the people in that group that have already donated. I can guarantee you at least one other person in the group who hasn't donated will jump on and donate, because they'll want to be part of that group that are supporting you. So give those a go. The other thing to remind people is that, of course, 31st of March is the end of the tax year. So all donations are tax deductible, and anyone that donates through the Give It Up Challenge will receive an email tax receipt. So, you know, just another little incentive for people to get behind you and donate with that tax benefit. And ultimately, you know, what we all here to do is to save lives. You know, 15 New Zealanders a day are diagnosed with these cancers, and with more than 50% not surviving, we desperate need of funding for research to find better ways to detect these cancers earlier and better treatments that are going to improve quality of life and life expectancy for these people. So this challenge all the way along has been twofold. One, to hopefully give you the tips and tools to improve your own life, your own health and well-being, and reduce your risk of getting gut cancers, helping to raise awareness of how preventable these cancers are with the right choices, and ultimately raising some money to make a difference for those people that are diagnosed. So huge thank you again to everyone. A thank you to Simon and Sean from Four Wheels of Health for their support. We couldn't do what we do without their support, their expertise in supporting the participants. You've had a taste of what the 4 Wheels of Health course are all about. So please jump on and go and have a look at the website, 4wheelsofhealth.com. And that might be a really good step for you if you're committed to trying to lose some weight and improve your overall health, to take your journey one step further by signing up for the course. So thank you all again. This is the final webinar. As I say, we will keep them up on the website. They're on our YouTube channel, so you can refer back to them. And best of luck for the final week. And we will be in touch via email and on the Facebook group. So thank you, and enjoy your final week. Thanks.